To really explore a city, you've got to know its artists. It's the artistic underground, the creative backbone that really makes a place come alive. See what's being created, as it's created, where it's created. Because good things are created here. Nashville is a city with heritage and heart. The musical legacy of the city is built on Grand Ole Opry and country music history. What it's grown into, though, is a place that celebrates diversity, warmly welcomes newcomers, and serves as an under-the-radar meeting point for power players in the music industry. While many artistic communities have music woven into their DNA, here it's the lifeblood of the place.
Get your hands up!
Tyler Bryant and the Shakedown are both everything you'd expect from a rock band, and nothing at all like the stereotypes. On stage, they sweat and wail and play their instruments like a house on fire. Off stage, well, you'll see. The band has been featured in every major music magazine you can imagine. The reason? Their raw rock sound and almost supernatural talent as musicians. I saw you play here in Nashville at the Basement the other night. You guys really know how to rally a crowd. People were going crazy. Yeah. They knew all the lyrics. You had a whole fan club in the front row. Are all of your shows like this?
We had toyed with the idea of renting lights and making a big production, bringing in a bigger sound system. Because Shakedown shows are loud. Like, it's an experience. And we decided no lights, no backdrop, no extra sound. This place is special for a reason. It's grungy, and it's a place for people to come. And the Basement always does these new faces nights for people who are just moving to Nashville. And it's where they go to meet people and play their songs for the first time. Since Nashville is such a hot spot, especially right now, people from all over come. Arkansas, Mississippi, Texas. There was a girl that flew from Brazil to come to this little tiny brick club, you know? And I love that.
Your performance is so good, and I think the raw talent of every member of the band is so on point. You know, you guys have a technical ability, and you just have a lot of stage presence. Is that like a natural feeling for you when you get on stage?
There's this thing that happens with our people. I can look someone in the eye, especially in a venue that's that intimate. And there's this thing, and it's fuel, you know?
And that's a really tiny venue. What about when you're playing sold out 85,000 person venue?
It's a completely different
thing.
So we've been very fortunate to share the stage with AC/DC, with Guns N' Roses. We got to be on a bill with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. You know, like these big time bands. And so when a band like AC/DC comes to town, these guys have worked years and years and years to cultivate such a loyal and just powerful fan base. They've made records, and those are their fans. Those are their people. And so when you're an opening band for a band like AC/DC, and these people have been camping in tents outside of the stadium for, days. Yeah. They don't care about the opening band. Like, you're the plastic wrap on the album they've been camping outside the record store to get. If we have 30 minutes, if we have an hour, we have to figure out what is going to be the most effective way to introduce ourselves to this big group of people. Obviously, people are there to party. They want to have a good time with their friends. So we have to try to figure out how can we be the soundtrack to their party.
You have 10 years as a band under your belt. How do you decide what your set list is going to be?
It's different depending, right? But I think for a 30-minute set, we're pretty upbeat, and we're going for tempo. We're going for things that like
excitement,
like big guitar solos. Like him and Graham have moments where they kind of have a guitar duel, like things that are very conversational. But we're also going for just this. That's what we're trying to get.
Also, it's just awesome, like to see 50,000, 80,000 people all like do something in unison.
Yeah.
It is the coolest thing. And so it's like, on one hand, yeah, it's sort of an easy way to get people involved in your show, but it's also just really cool to watch because there's few things as powerful as that many people doing something together. In a world where everyone's going their own way, that all disappears at a rock show.
It's the universal language.
Exactly.
Yeah. Everyone can understand and relate and communicate that way.
Well, since it is the universal language, tell me about some of the places you've been. What has been really exciting?
Oh man, I think in our recent past, we got to play in Iceland.
Yeah.
For the first time, and so we were really excited to go there. We got to play the largest show in the history of Iceland with Guns N' Roses.
It was 1/10 of the country's population was there.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That is wild.
30,000 people.
How was that response?
You got to hear this story. So I went back to the hotel one night and I was watching videos about their culture, and they do this chant with a clap. I told Caleb about this thing, and I was like, you should give this a shot. And then he went for it during the show.
Iceland's football team, soccer team, made the World Cup, and it's part of their World Cup chant. And how it goes is it's 2 hits on the drum and everyone goes, whoo, like that. So it's doom, doom, whoo. I go forward and I do the first one, and it's a lot of space too. It's a lot of just silence, doom, doom, whoo, and everybody holds their hands there and it's just quiet. And then it's until doom, doom, and everyone does it again, whoo.
Oh my God, so you're really building up this momentum.
Totally, and then it speeds up, doom, doom, oh. All of us are looking at each other like, this is not real. Every single person, young, old, didn't matter, boom, together. It was crazy. Yeah. It was one of the coolest things we've done in a while. So it's like moments like that where, we're obviously doing our thing, but we're also pulling, what they know and pulling parts of their culture and what they love and putting it together, I think.
It's a good way for us to engage people without playing cover songs.
Yeah.
You don't play cover. You do have really strong influences, though, in blues, jazz, punk.
Everything.
Tell me about your sound.
The majority of the sound is crafted to win in a live setting. We have a lot of energy when we play, and we feed off of each other and off of the crowd. Our bass player Noah is like a total 90s grunge baby. Caleb grew up on a lot of gospel, R&B. I was a blues addict, man, and when I moved to Nashville at 17, I was just like, how can I play blues for people my own age? We just love good, honest, real music. Those people that you were talking about that are in the front at our shows, they know that we're not doing something that we don't 100% believe in, and it's for them and it's for us. And then when we get together, we're gonna have a big party.
For other emerging musicians, what sort of advice might you offer them?
I think that's a great question. One is show up on time, finish on time, and be nice to everyone in the process. And it's take every gig that you get offered. How many just horrible gigs did we play?
Just countless.
Well, we're here. You've shown up with your beautiful Fender. Will you play something?
Yeah.
Nashville is best known for its hot chicken, Broadway honky-tonks, and Southern hospitality, served up family style at places like Monell's. What is equally compelling, though, is that here you can find a stage just about anywhere, and on it you'll find astoundingly good talent. That welcoming spirit and let's play together attitude is something Nashville embraces, and so does Jesse Wilson. A singer-songwriter who grew up in Brooklyn, Wilson toured the world as a child doing theater. By the time she was 16, she was touring with Alicia Keys as a backup vocalist. Then she was with John Legend for years. Jessie knows music, and about 5 years ago, she chose Nashville as her home base. I know you've lived and worked in lots of places. I want to hear about your creative process here in Nashville.
I would just listen to a bunch of old soul records, which I'm always listening to. I grew up listening to Aretha Franklin and Gladys Knight and Curtis Mayfield and Smokey Robinson, and so that's really dear to my heart. And what I love about the soul records, a lot of them is they have they're not a lot of chords, so I would pick up on the chord progressions and then just try to plink them out because I'm not the greatest piano player. And from there, melodies would come, ideas, lyrics. For the rest of the album, we created in real time in the studio, like daily. So I would walk in and Pat would say, all right, so what are we doing today? What are you feeling? Like, what's up?
And you're referring to Pat Carney from the Black Keys.
Yes.
How did he get involved in this project?
My mom loves music, and so I listened to soul music, lots of hip hop. My mom has the radio to this day playing 24/7 all day long. So hip hop, R&B, soul, all of that. But it wasn't until I moved to Nashville that I started to venture out and really sort of like study. And I'm not just talking about listening in passing, but really study like rock music, Americana, even country. And when I discovered the Black Keys for the first time, my ears weren't ready. Like, I remember listening to them maybe 5 years ago. My boyfriend was like, ooh, listen to this band. And I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. But about a year and a half ago, through listening to the Alabama Shakes, I found this song by the Black Keys that I became obsessed over, called Meet Me in the City, which was a remake of a Junior Kimbrough song. And so I listened to that song on repeat. From there, I became super obsessed, and I started telling everyone, oh, the Black Keys on YouTube, watching all the interviews, all of the performances. And so I kind of like to feel like I willed Pat to me, because I talked about the Black Keys nonstop for about 4 months. And when my duo ended, miraculously, a friend knew someone, and we were introduced because I really wanted to meet him, and one thing led to another, and we started working together.
You just referred to lots of different types of music and genres, and in your new album, I've noticed you pulled in so many of those.
We as human beings, we're multidimensional, you know what I mean? And so it's like your music is a reflection of self, and so therefore whatever you create is going to be multidimensional as well. And my album to me is not like, oh, well, we want to do a little bit of this because it's hip hop. We want to have some 808s, and then let's put some grungy guitar because it's like psychedelic, and and really rock. It was just what happened naturally, because when you're pouring yourself into your work, into your art, it just comes out.
You are no stranger to working with big names. I hear you started touring at 16. What did you study in school? What led you down this path?
I was just one of those kids that was around singing all of the time. Like, my mom took me to the places where adults were. Like, on Sunday nights there was this open mic, and we would go there, and I would be the only kid, and I would get up and sing. And so a lot of the people just sort of knew me in New York just for being like out and about singing.
So what advice might you have for other emerging artists? How can a young creative really get out there?
What I've always followed is like, go where the music is. I was born in Brooklyn, but then an opportunity led me to Atlanta. From there, I went to LA, and then an opportunity led me to Philadelphia, and then I went back home, and then I came to Nashville. And in all of those places, I've been able to just like add on to who I am as an artist. And so I would say, like, don't be afraid to evolve and to take chances and to take risks. A lot of my friends, they'll say like, oh, I want to do this, but, and for me, I've never had that issue. Like, I'm always excited for the next thing, which is why I dyed my hair green. Like, I was excited to do something new. A lot of artists, I think, they don't release enough of their music, and they're afraid, they're like over critiquing it. I would just say, let it out into the universe.
You know, you never really know when you're going to meet somebody who inspires you. Who here in Nashville is inspiring you?
God, so many. This place is so rich with amazing talent all across the spectrum, not just musicians, but I have some really like dope friends. Like, one of my friends, he's a rapper, his name is Brian Brown, and he works at Hattie B's, but he goes super hard for his music. And it's really legit too, because like, he's up and coming, but when you go on Spotify and you look him up, like, all of his artwork is like super intentional. You can tell that he has a creative brain, and that he's like putting so much energy and thought toward what he's doing. Plus he has bars for days. Like I feel like he can hang with the best of them. And even like finding Pat and like listening to his music in my earphones and then finding out that he lived here and that he was accessible to me. I feel like Nashville is so unique from other music cities that I've lived in, which is pretty much all of them. Atlanta, New York, LA, because it is a small town and because it's not so spread out, I think people are more receptive to just like giving it a chance.
There's such a beautiful array of talent.
And I hope that as the city grows, that there's more awareness that's being brought to how eclectic and how, you know, how wide the talent is here.
And for you, that's your Nashville.
Yeah, that's my Nashville. My Nashville is beautiful. It's eclectic. It's eccentric. It's full of people who are really bold and wear their hair different colors and, you know, do crazy things. Yeah.
Nashville is a place where people make it, literally. It's a roll up your sleeves and get it done kind of city. Nashville was the original home to musicians like Johnny Cash and Patsy Cline. Now the city is home to talent like Jack White, as well as a new breed of poets, instrument makers, and sounds. One local band embodies that new sound perfectly. The Hathaways are a surprising blend of Nashville and Peru, indie electronica and old world connections, spirits, and sound. Fronted by brother-sister duo Kate and James Hathaway, the band creates lyrics and music that are definitely country, just not from this country. One thing that is really unique about your band is that you use the instrument, the charango. What is that about?
I think it was about 12 years ago. I was introduced to it at the University of Illinois. I actually walked into the wrong classroom and they let me stay. They said, "What do you play?" And I said, "I play guitar." And they said, "Perfect, charango. This is your instrument for the semester." And I was just playing all traditional mountain music from Peru. And all of a sudden, James was like, "Oh, you know, put your guitar down. Why don't you play charango on this song that James was working on?" And I looked around and I was like, I don't even know if I can do that. Like, is that gonna insult people? I wouldn't be respectful playing this instrument. So he told me to do it. I did it. We wrote our first song and we played it for my professor who had been to Peru. And he told me, Peruvians are gonna love that. Keep doing what you're doing.
And that brings up a really interesting point. Your music, your band, you're really big in Peru. How did that happen?
They saw you playing that charango in the ancient style with all those antiguos, and it really impressed some people down there.
Yeah, well, it's pretty interesting because females typically don't play charango. It's typically a male instrument. And one of the old stories of playing the charango is men would go around their little town and they'd play this exact same song. And they would go up to women and they'd play the song. And if she didn't turn away and run away from you, that meant she would go to the dance with you. So it was kind of a way to court women. So the fact that I'm playing and that women play, it's a little weird to them. So
it breaks with the tradition.
So it's a romance instrument.
It's definitely a romance instrument. So I think when I went over there and I started playing the charango, a lot of people were intrigued. They were also very intrigued that a gringa was playing this traditional type of music.
And James, you play more electronic music. How do you bring that into the fold?
So a lot of people wake up every day and they get their breakfast, you know, and they start doing their thing. And for me, I wake up, grab a couple slabs of tape, throw down on the G on my little synthesizer, get that rolling, and it sort of comes back to this thing. I remember hearing about Jerry Garcia. You know, he had his whole crew of people, and he was just like, I just want to be able to walk into my barn and press a button and be able to go. You know, I just want to be able to create. And so that's my elaborate setup, is synthesizers, microphones, guitars, everything's set up, all plugged in, and all I have to do is just put those headphones on and start going.
And I've heard that you write Everly Brother style. That's fitting given that you're siblings. What does that mean though?
So I will come up with a calamity of ideas, and sometimes I'll present the package to Kate and say, here you go, Kate, this is a 10-minute sort of fever dream song I had. What do you think? And
I will shorten it.
Yeah.
I'll come through and pick all my favorite parts and tell them what maybe we should add instead, and I just try to kind of structure the songs.
Intro, verse, chorus it. She's real good at that. And so I like painting the landscape, but she helps me focus it.
We're here in Nashville, which is mostly known for its country music. How have people responded to your sound here?
So far, I'd say that all my friends, all the people I've met here have mostly been musicians. And these Nashvilleans love going out and hearing all sorts of types of music. It doesn't have to be a rodeo. This has been one of the best places to live because people actually respect good musicians. That's something you don't get everywhere.
I would really love to hear some instrumentals now, maybe some acoustics. Do you have any with you?
We have a charanga that we didn't want to leave in the car.
I've got to hear this charanga. Let's do it.
Just a little taste.
All right, love it. When you think of Nashville, you can think of the epic fried bologna sandwiches and country western history at Roberts. You can think of the music-making heritage at the Gibson Factory and other top music companies. Or you can simply picture the natural beauty of the city itself. What I think of is the generosity, talent, and the grace of the place and its people. This is a town of big hearts, and it's a place with rhythm day and night, all set against the backdrop of a bright, beautiful skyline.